Welcome to Indian History Foundation session. And in this video, we are going to discuss about the Gandhian era and his contribution. The father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, he has contributed immensely towards the freedom struggle, as we all know about it. Okay, let us understand what are the major contributions of Mahatma Gandhi. See, these are the important discussion points. One is Mahatma Gandhi returns. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi returns from South Africa, and then the early Satyagraha, and then Jallianwala Massacre. So these three important topics we will be discussing in this particular video. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi returns. Okay, in the year 1915, Mahatma Gandhi returned to India. Okay, in the year 1915, he returned from South Africa. In South Africa also, he was actually fighting for the cause of the Indian laborers over there. So it's very important to understand that Gandhi was always on a mission to help the Indians to achieve freedom. Okay, even in South Africa, he was actually contributing, and after coming to India also, he was contributing his entire life and his ideals. Everything is to make our society in a better one, and also to achieve freedom. So that was the major idea behind Mahatma Gandhi's principles. And Mahatma Gandhi returned to India in the year 1915. Very important to understand. Till that time period, his presence was not there in the Indian freedom movement. Okay, Indian freedom struggle in India. Gandhi was in South Africa fighting for Indian laborers in South Africa. And 2 years he traveled the entire India to understand the situation of Indians. So very important to understand. He came to India in the year 1915, but if you look at his first Satyagraha, it was in the year 1970. So what happened in this 2 years? Basically, he was actually traveling. He was studying, or he was actually trying to understand what is the plight of the situation, plight of the people in our country. Okay, the situation of the people, the circumstances of the people, or the hardships of the people in our country. He was actually studying that. Then only he entered into the active politics or active freedom struggle. And basically, he did this because of the advice he received from his political mentor, or Gandhiji's political guru, Gopalakrishna Gokhale. Like we already mentioned, Gopalakrishna Gokhale, he was a part of the moderate politics in the Indian National Congress. So very important to understand about this. So this is how Mahatma Gandhi came to India. Now the early satyagrahas of Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, how he has actually entered into the active Indian freedom struggle or the Indian politics. The first the first All India Satyagraha was in Champaran. Very important. In the year 1917, he engaged into the Indian freedom struggle with his contribution towards this Champaran Satyagraha in the year 1917. Champaran is actually located in present-day Bihar, and now its name is Bapudam. Basically, he was fighting for the indigo cultivators or indigo farmers in the Champaran, and it was actually a successful satyagraha. And then after that success, and he engaged in two other important satyagrahas. One is Kheda Satyagraha, which happened in Kheda district of Gujarat in the year 1918, and Ahmedabad mill strike for the mill laborers in Gujarat in 1918. And both these satyagrahas were also victorious. And with these three important satyagrahas, his fame, okay, he become more famous, and he become a remarkable leader in the Indian freedom struggle or Indian freedom movement. Okay, so three important satyagrahas. One is the Champaran Satyagraha, that was the first satyagraha which happened in the year 1917, and two other satyagrahas were happening in Gujarat only. One is Kheda Satyagraha, and another one is Ahmedabad mill strike. And Mahatma Gandhi came up with new ideas while he was actually engaging into Satyagraha. Satyagraha itself was a new idea, and he has given his own version of Satyagraha, and all these he tried out there during the protest, and it actually shown a lot of result. Okay, very it was a great advantage for the Indian community or Indian society, because that was a new realization for the entire the freedom fighters, and a new methodology we have actually adopted, and it was actually successful. And that's how he become more famous, and he become one of the prominent figures in the Indian freedom movement. Another important event was the Jalanwala Massacre, which is one of the brutal incidents that happened in the history of India in the year 1918. It was actually happening in Amritsar, Punjab, in the year 1919, April 30th. And so that is why it is also known as Amritsar Massacre. So what happened was after the announcement of the Rowlatt Act, there were massive protests against the Rowlatt Act, and there were many people who got arrested because of the protest. And such two important people who got arrested was Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu and Dr. Satyapal. Okay, they were from the Punjab, and in order to protest against their arrest, the people gathered at Jallianwala Bagh, which is actually a park. So what happened was Michael O'Dwyer, he declared martial law in Punjab, and without knowing this, people actually gathered in Jallianwala Bagh, and General Dyer, and he came with his forces into the Jallianwala Bagh, and he started firing at the innocent people. And he is the person who is responsible for this massacre. And police opened fire at innocent people who gathered at Jallianwala Bagh, and it is one of the dark incident that actually happened in the Indian history. And there were massive protests and agitation against this particular brutal incident that happened in the Indian history. And almost all the Indians were against this atrocity committed by the British forces against the Indians in the year 1918. Like the leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore, all of them were actually showing their own discontent and their dissatisfaction and their agitation against the British rule. So Jallianwala Bagh massacre, which actually added more the fuel to the fire, like that people were all frustrated and dissatisfied with the rule of the Britishers, and this particular event has actually added fuel to the fire. And after that, we could see that massive agitations and protests were happening, and three important movements like the non-cooperation movement, the civil disobedience movement, and the Quit India movement, three important massive movements were actually happening after this Jallianwala Bagh massacre only. So these are the important information uh, related with the Indian freedom movement after the arrival of the Mahatma Gandhi, his early Satyagrahas, and the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Hope you got an idea about it. Thank you.